largest criminal investigation in the history of the state of Colorado. 80 investigators and 4,400 leads. Key finding number 4. No known evidence suggests that anyone had prior knowledge of the killer's plans. This is patently false, as it turns out.
The killings have been prevented in the first place? Tonight, you'll hear what the police knew about Harris and Klebold before they started shooting, and how the school district security director came up with a plan to head off school violence 8 months before the massacre. It's been 2 years since Columbine, and today, many people, especially some parents of the murdered children, still believe the worst school massacre in American history might have been avoided if the sheriff's department and the school authorities had done their jobs. We've been investigating the shootings at Columbine for the past 6 months, and tonight you'll hear new and surprising information about what happened there. Some of that information was in the sheriff's files, undisclosed, until we went to court to have it released. About the time Cornell and Chalmoser presented their security plan to Columbine, 2 of the school's juniors, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, were coming to the attention of school and law enforcement authorities. At night, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, where an investigator told them that Harris already had a criminal file. He and Dylan Klebold were on a form of probation for breaking into a van and stealing equipment. At first, the Sheriff's Department denied its investigators had even met with the Browns in person. But we obtained this police paperwork showing those investigators not only met with Mrs. Judy Brown, but then worked on a warrant to search Eric Harris's home. Even more surprising, this document shows a sheriff's deputy found a pipe bomb consistent with the devices Harris described on his website. But the sheriff's department never searched or even visited the Harris home. It was April of '98, a full year before the Columbine massacre.
People are covering up everything that went wrong, and I want these lessons out there.
If a sheriff's deputy told you that somebody at your school was messing around with pipe bombs, just common sense, wouldn't you want to know more about that?
I would have asked, first of all, if there was something that would lead me to believe that I needed to worry about our students in our school. There's not much else I could do other than have the information and be watching, being more vigilant about that student.
But if Columbine's administrators were being more vigilant about Eric Harris, they admit that didn't include speaking to his teachers, family, or friends about him.
There was no one in that school who had any indication that these 2 boys would become mass murderers.
In February of '99, Dylan Klebold turned in a story he wrote about an assassin in a black trench coat who shoots down students and bombs the city. The man unloaded one of the pistols across the fronts of the 4 innocents, Klebold wrote. The streetlights caused a visible reflection off of the droplets of blood. I understood his actions. Klebold's teacher later called it the most vicious story she'd ever read and voiced her concerns about it to Klebold's parents and his school counselor. But no school official ever looked into the matter, and it ended there. It was 2 months before the shootings. According to Howard Cornell, that story gave Columbine's administrators yet another opportunity to head off Klebold and Harris. And yet again, they missed it. In any of these instances, the essay that was written, the police investigating the pipe bombs, the girl who felt that she was threatened, in any of these instances, did Columbine follow the policies that you had laid out for the school district?
No, not one.
Why do you think Columbine didn't implement your recommendations?
I don't know the answer to that, Mr. Bradley.
Where were Harris and Klebold's parents all this time? They have never spoken publicly about Columbine, but in police interviews, they said they had no idea about the arsenal of weapons their sons were amassing in their bedrooms.
The commission was highly critical of Jefferson County Sheriff John Stone. The commission chair said Stone would not cooperate with the investigation, that he broke appointments to testify and didn't turn over material. The Sheriff's Department issued a written statement today suggesting it might not agree with all the conclusions in the report.
You know, that You know, I guess in a perfect world we wouldn't have these things happen, but
Some of the victims' families say the sheriff is making excuses and that the governor is too. They say the report is simply a political move that doesn't begin to address the real concerns. News 4's Sean Boyd is live at the Capitol tonight with reaction from some of the families. Sean?
Amy, families we spoke with say this report doesn't break any new ground. In fact, one father calls this fluff and calls the commission cowards for not hammering the sheriff's department harder.
Just really a waste of time.
No sooner did the commission release its report than families unleashed a storm of criticism.
I'd be ashamed if I were the governor to put something out like this.
Brian Rohrbaugh's son died in the shooting. He says everyone knows the sheriff's department made mistakes. He wants to know why. This report, he says, gave excuses, not answers.
There was a lot of warnings here, and this report makes it look like there really wasn't any warning.
Judy and Randy Brown among those who warned the sheriff's department about Eric Harris. That was mentioned in the report in fine print.
But Governor Owens will not talk to us, and I'm tired of hearing it fell between the cracks. That's not an answer. If the cracks are that big, how's that building standing up?
The only possible way to know the truth about Columbine is going to be for those lawsuits that have been filed to proceed into a courtroom.
Rohrbaugh's among several families suing the sheriff's department and the Jefferson County School District. The sheriff told the commission that pending litigation is why he couldn't testify, and the governor says he doesn't have the power to subpoena the sheriff. Amy?
We've been wanting the truth, and that's what we want. We want to know what happened. We want to know the truth.
The Rohrbaughh family now awaits the results of the El Paso County Sheriff's independent investigation of Columbine.
In this statement, Colorado Attorney General Ken Salazar agrees with the coroner's decision to hold off on the inquest. He says everyone involved must wait until the El Paso County Sheriff's Office finishes its independent investigation. That could be as soon as 2 weeks. Ron?
Thanks, Robert. Fox 31's Robert Thompson in the newsroom.